Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Tuesday, October 31st. It's Halloween, so for those of you celebrating out there, happy Halloween. And then for you, those of you joining me for the very first time, this is how I will be structuring today's video. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately end up turning out. We'll go over to the injuries in play for today's slate overall, only a 3-game main slate in total. And then we'll go over to both DraftKings and FanDuel, talk about my core 5 picks for both sites. It's going to be 1 point guard, 1 shooting guard, 1 small forward, 1 power forward, and 1 center. So 1 player at each position that I do like for today. Obviously a 3-game slate today, so get a little bit creative, kind of mix and match, maybe a slate that we play just a little bit lighter tonight as well. But without further ado, we're going to get into that recap from yesterday's picks. At the point guard position on DraftKings, we went with CJ McCollum, $7,300, looking for 36, 37 points out. He got to 37, so he ultimately did end up being a hit yesterday. Brandon Ingram did unfortunately get ruled out very late in the day. We didn't really have too much news of that, so CJ McCollum looked pretty good there either way. Should have made him look a little bit better. Probably could have got a little bit extra out of him, but you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. Then at shooting guard, we had Cam Thomas at $6,000, looking for 30 points out. Got to 38, so he was a hit. At small forward, we went with Azar Thompson at $5,500, looking for 27, 28 points out of him. You know, I said it could be a pretty good night for him. Could potentially even get to 40 points, and he did ultimately get to 40 points, so he was a hit yesterday. And then we had Kyle Kuzma at $7,400. This game, unfortunately, was a blowout, which is something that we kind of saw coming a little bit, so you hope that the game stayed a little bit more competitive, and Kyle Kuzma was a big reason why. We were looking for 37 out of him. We got to 33.75, so not the end of the world there. Still a miss, though. Only played 26 minutes, and that game was a blowout, although he did play pretty well in those 26 minutes. And then at center, we went with Clint Capella. Looked like a pretty good play at the beginning of the day. $5,800, looking for 29 fantasy points out. Got to 19.25. He did ultimately end up being a mess. He kind of weirdly just played 23 minutes in this game. Can't really explain this one too much. Not the greatest game for him overall, though. And then last but not least, you know, I said if Thomas Bryant starts, you could throw him in the core play as well. Unfortunately, we did not get that news before the Clint Capella start. But with Thomas Bryant, $4,000, was looking for at least 20 points out. Got to 16 on the DraftKings side, so technically he was a mess. Only played 22 minutes, and that game did ultimately end up being a blowout. So 3 out of 5 on the DraftKings side. So it could have been a little bit better day. Could have also been a lot worse if he had some other decent plays alongside the core. Probably had a decent chance at cashing still, though. And then on the FanDuel side, we went with Drew Holiday at point guard, $6,500. Looking for 32, 33 points out. Got 29.5. He was a miss. Ultimately played 27 minutes. That game was a blowout. You know, if he gets those extra 5 minutes, he probably hits for us yesterday. And then at shooting guard, we went from Gary Trent Jr., who was our initial core pick. But OG Anunoby ultimately ended up playing, so didn't like him quite as much then. Tim Hardaway was kind of our pivot point, $5,300, looking for 26, 27 points out. He got 26, so he was a hit yesterday. Pretty solid value at that. Looked pretty decent with Kyrie Irving out for the Dallas Mavericks last night. And then at small forward, we had Dorian Finney-Smith at $4,600, looking for 23 points out. He got to 36.9, so he was one of the better hits for us overall on yesterday's slate. And then at power forward, we went with his teammate Ben Simmons, $6,700, looking for 33, 34 points out. Got to 36, so he was a good hit as well. And then once again, we had Clint Capella and Thomas Bryant down here for our center position. Clint Capella, $6,300 on the FanDuel side, looking for 31, 32 points out. We got 23.5, so he was a miss once again, played 23 minutes in that game. And then if you went with the Thomas Bryant route, $4,200, looking for 21 points out of him. Got to 17.4, so he was a miss, 22 minutes in that blowout once again. But at the same time, with that being said, 3 out of 5 on the FanDuel side. Hopefully you guys had some other good picks alongside the core. But, you know, 6 out of 10 overall. Still more hits than misses, so we'll take it on the day overall. But, you know, could have been a little bit better at the same time as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over into the injuries and play for today's slate. So once again, it is a 3-game main slate. You know, that's typical for our Tuesdays and our Thursday games just in general. For the New York Knicks, they are all the way healthy at this point in time. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are without Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Darius Garland, and Jarrett Allen. So pretty much what we kind of seen in the most recent games for them. Garland's played a couple times this year, 1 or 2 times so far this season in totality. And then we have Donovan Mitchell dealing with a hamstring injury. He is listed as questionable. If he's unable to go, a lot of these guys are going to look pretty good, although their price tags are trending up because a lot of these players have missed quite a bit so far this season. Then we move over to the San Antonio Spurs, who are all the way healthy at this point in time. Then the Phoenix Suns, pretty similar to what we've seen so far this year. So Damian Lee is out, Bradley Beal's out due to his back injury, and then we have Devin Booker doubtful with the foot injury once again. So pretty much seeing what we've seen out of the Suns so far this season. Orlando Magic are the lone team on the back-to-back for this Tuesday night slate, so we'll wait and see what their injury report looks like. Probably not too much there because I don't think anybody got injured in last night's game, and they were pretty healthy at that point in time as well, unless they're, you know, going out of their way to rest people tonight. Then on the Clippers side, going to be a pretty interesting one here. They could have as little as 8 guys available tonight, 9 guys potentially. So we'll keep an eye on that. That could be a big value spot. Part of the reason why is they did trade for James Harden and PJ Tucker, and then they got Petrosiv in there as well. But they got rid of Marcus Morris Sr., they got rid of Nick Batum, Robert Covington, and KJ Martin in that trade. So a lot of pieces that kind of went out the window there. That's 4 bodies that you don't have, 3 bodies coming in. And then we also have Terrence Mann, Josh Primo, and Brandon Boston all out tonight once again. And then Avisa Zubac, questionable due to a quad injury. We'll see if he plays or not. If he doesn't play tonight, Mason Plumlee is going to look like a pretty good value overall. And then Normal Powell is questionable as well. I can't remember what his injury is off the top of my head. We'll see whether or not he plays tonight. If he doesn't, a guy like Amir Coffey is going to be a little bit more attractive at the flat minimum price tag on both sites. But with that being said, kind of what we have in terms of the injuries for today, obviously the big ones we're going to watch is obviously Don Mitchell and then that Clippers news as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks for today overall. So we are going to start off at the point guard position with Jeremy Sohan. You can also play him at small forward on the DraftKings side. He's $5,500. You're looking for 27, 28 points out. He's pretty much been around this price tag all season. Do like what he's done for the most part this season. Last game, not the greatest, but that was a massive blowout as well. So do like him for about 28 points tonight. So it looks like a pretty solid play. If you want to roll him out in a cash game, you can definitely do that as well. At point guard, we're going to go with Paul George. He is $8,600. Looking for 43 fantasy points out of him tonight. Essentially what he's been doing so far this season. So do like him once again. If you want to roll him out in a cash game, you can definitely do that as well. I do like Kawhi Leonard quite a bit tonight as well. We'll see a little bit of him more on the FanDuel side. But if you want to play him on DraftKings, definitely okay by me as well. And then at small forward, like I said, we're going to go with Amir Coffey. He hasn't played too much this season, but should get some minutes tonight with a lot of that depth missing for this Clippers team overall. $3,000 flat minimum on DraftKings. We're only looking for 15 points out. Currently, I'm projected for around 20. If Norman Powell's out tonight, he should get a couple extra minutes and maybe even gets up to 22 points or more. And then at power forward, we just want somebody kind of cheaper. So went with Dean Wade at $3,600. Played some pretty sizable minutes since he's returned. Looking for 18 points out of him. Essentially, he's been averaging on the season. You know, if you get 18 to 20 out of him, he's going to be a pretty good value play on tonight's slate as well. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Mitchell Robinson, $5,100. Looking for 25, 26 points out. Averaging almost 30 on the season so far. It is a little bit of a tougher matchup against Cleveland, you know, going against Mobley tonight. As long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, should be pretty good though. So do like him once again. Has shown some pretty strong upside when he's gotten the minutes so far this season as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $24,200 remaining, just over $8,000 per player remaining. So a good amount of money left over. You can definitely pay up probably for 2 more studs if that's something you want to do on tonight's slate. Or, you know, if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, you can definitely do that as well. But I think there's going to be a lot of value options that do pop up potentially throughout the day on this slate overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. This contest that I did kind of enter for today's thing, it is a 25-cent contest, but it looks like it's a no-sweat series too. So be sure to look out for those as they do come out on FanDuel, because essentially what that means, you put a quarter down on this contest. If your lineup doesn't win, you get that quarterback insight credit. So pretty much no risk to be had at that. We're going to start off at the point guard position once again with Jeremy Sohan. $6,000. You know, we're looking for 30 points out. He's averaged about 24 on the season. Like I said, played pretty well so far this season outside of that most recent game, which did happen to be a pretty big blowout. So not going to write that too much against him. Kind of projecting, you know, about 28, 29 points on the FanDuel side tonight. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Amir Coffey. He is the flat minimum at $3,500, looking for 17, 18 fantasy points out of him. Like I said, they trade away all that depth, so he's going to have to play tonight. You know, if Norman Powell ends up missing, it's going to look pretty good as well. If you get 20 points out of him at the flat minimum, it's going to look pretty good for our lineups. Overall, probably going to be a pretty popular play just due to his price tag, but there could be a lot of different value options that do become available on tonight's slate overall. Then we're going to go down to small forward with Grayson Allen at $4,200, looking for 21 points out. He's averaging about 18.5 so far on the season. I think he started all 3 games at this point in time. He's at least started the 2 most recent games. Kind of found his stroke in the most recent game. So if he's out there, he's shooting the ball well. Guy that can get some steals and some assists from time to time as well. That definitely could help us out on the FanDuel side. We're only looking for 21 points out of him. I think he could get us 22 tonight and be a pretty solid play overall. Then at power forward, we're going to go Kawhi Leonard at $8,700. Looking for 43, 44 fantasy points out of him tonight, averaging just under 41 on the season. Think it could be a pretty decent game for him. They might need a couple extra minutes minutes out of him, kind of with the depth they're lacking tonight, especially if this game's pretty competitive or against Orlando. We'll just have to see how that all ultimately shakes out. But, when you look at this slate, not as many high-end guys there, but I do think Kawhi is a guy that could very much help our lineups tonight. I think 45 points is pretty easy for him in this matchup versus Orlando tonight. Then last but not least, at the center position, we're going back to Mitchell Robinson once again, $6,000, looking for 30 points. He's averaging just over 33 on the season. Like I said, first game was not the greatest. A little bit of tougher matchup versus the Cavaliers, but if he's out there, he's playing big minutes. If he's getting the rebounds, a couple blocks here and there, going to look pretty good at $6,000. Would not be surprised if he gets us right around that 30-point threshold that we're looking for out of him tonight. Could have some upside for more as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players on the FanDuel side, you'll have $31,600 remaining. Just under $8,000 per player, so $7,900 per player. So definitely a good amount of value left over to pay up for some of these stud players. Whether you want to play a Kevin Durant, a Paul George, or someone else like that. Definitely an interesting slate overall. Like I said, I think there's going to be a decent amount of value by the time we get to lock. So definitely be sure to check up on the injuries throughout the day that I'll be posting up down in the comments, as well as those starting lineups. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both DraftKings and FanDuel for today, October 31st. And then as always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And with that being said, please note whether those questions are more DraftKings or FanDuel specific, just because it's hard to read your mind to know which site you play on. It helps me out a little bit. It helps you out a little bit. Just speeds up the process in general. And then, like I said, we'll be posting the injury updates throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups that do come out throughout the night. If there's any updates to the core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock, I'll leave that as a pinned comment or as those changes do become available. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we got Monday through Friday NBA DFS Core Pick videos. I'll be trying to do a little bit more for NFL DFS, maybe a first look video either today or tomorrow, and then hopefully kind of a player pool video probably on Friday this week. Just kind of have to see how the week all shakes out together, but definitely look forward to that in the coming days, as well as my NFL DFS cheat sheets up on the Sports Affiliation website as well. And then last but not least, if you are brand new to sports betting, if you're interested in sports betting or prop betting, also be sure to check out the links and the codes down in the description below for Parlay Play, Prize Picks, and BetUS. If you sign up using those codes, those links, you'll get a little bit of a first match deposit. Helps you guys out a little bit, helps me out a little bit on the side. If you have any questions whatsoever regarding those websites, sports betting, prop betting, anything else like that, feel free to message me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. Definitely would appreciate that and helping you guys out as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have at this point in time for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning into this video. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, a happy Halloween overall, and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.